since you've experienced all of what Troy Lightfoot brings the world, I mean,
absolutely.
Like, he's almost like an evil mastermind, but a benevolent evil mastermind, right? Wouldn't you say that's the vibe that Troy gives off?
Troy could be the benevolent evil mastermind that is even keeled until he is not. And then the plan becomes real. But he
gives off, don't mess with me. Like, absolutely. Chill. I know that I'm smarter than you. I'm just not going to throw it in your face. So, he just talked for 20 minutes and clients are like eating out of his hand, like popcorn, going, what? Tell me more.
Well, you should, if you listen to this, and obviously it's recording, make sure to get this in there, because it's like, if you're out there and you're a fan, you should explain to Troy why. If you want to really get an idea like Troy and like some of the challenges he's facing, what I found always really helps, ask him why he does not like the Smashing Pumpkins. I don't know why.
Don't understand.
He's got something against them. Like, there's so many bands in the 90s that are like wonderful. And like, if there was a list, like, he'll tell you why everybody else is better than Smashing Pumpkins. It's great. So yeah, if you're out there, make sure to do that for sure.
Let's talk conferences.
Conferences, absolutely.
All right. So you and I are both part of the team that's putting on Agile 2023. We'll talk about Agile Advice here shortly. But what I wanted to do was start kind of big picture, like how long have you been going to Agile conferences? Because I don't know. I just know that, like, so for those playing the home game, I know Chris the same way that I know Paul Tevis, Jake Calabrese, all people that I consider friends and respected colleagues. We just bumped into each other from knowing the same people at a conference. And you're like, hey, I see your name on a badge. Guess I know you now, right?
Yep.
That's how I know all of these people. I'm really, really lucky that anybody even answers the phone when I call, but I am very, very, very lucky. So tell me, right, as someone that we just know each other, I don't know when we met. I just know that we do. And I know that we're cool. So that's all there is to it.
That's all that matters.
What was your first one? And how long have you been maybe tell me about your first one and like what was like?
Geez, it's been trying to think. Because like events, like small, medium, and large, I remember starting to do community events. I mean, what was it, 10 years ago or something, more than now? Because I'm in the DC area, and there was a lot of groundswell around then, like, oh, the smaller ones and then regional ones, and then like, oh, this company would host this thing, and it was cool. But like the larger events were always fun. So anytime I could go to something that was like, oh, the global X or international event, I mean, like with what we do with Agile Alliance, it is what I need those dates. And I mean, we're lucky where we can figure out, okay, when do I need to block it? But that's something that I plan around. I mean, if there's anything that I want to make sure that I'm available for, it's that one. Because going back to what you said, it's like, oh, hey, you get to see old friends and you get to make new ones. Because it's like, if I'm cool with someone and they're like, hey, here's my, like, all right, then we're cool. And then that just keeps going and going and going. So I'd say, I think the first one, I can't remember the exact first one. One I have real good memories of. Where were we? Were we Atlanta? Were we DC? Where were we? I want to say it was DC, but it was years ago. Was that 14, 15, somewhere around in there.
Okay.
I remember going to that one just because it was home. The reason I remember it because it's hometown.
Right.
So I remember I did something different at that one. I didn't speak at that, but I worked with Dave Pryor, where we did a bunch of interviews and podcasts and stuff. So I was doing we were doing camera work and talking with people and sitting down and interviewing people. And it was really fun. It was almost kind of like a mini conference, we would say. It was like, because I mean, we know conference within a conference, we never want to do that. But he was asked by the Alliance to do it. And so I remember being able to do that from a volunteer standpoint. And
was this like prior to Drunken PM?
This, I think Drunken PM Radio was still out, but this was something separate. I think PMI might have funded it.
Yeah.
And with Agile, you'll have to ask Dave, but
sure.
But I remember that just because it was DC, and I was like, okay, home team, like here we go. Like I remember that one really well. I mean, I remember, parts are fuzzy, but I know, right? But
Well,
it's been a while, and it's really fun though. I really love it.
so I remember getting much less sleep in my earlier ones. And
Yes.
again, I was not a young man, like going, I mean, I was in my, mid 30s.
We were grown up. We were grown-ups. Well, grown-ups.
We play them on TV. We play
Roger.
grown-ups on TV,
Gotcha.
on Zoom. We played grown-ups on Zoom.
Yep.
My first Agile Alliance was in Atlanta in 16, but
I remember
had
that
gone to
one.
a couple
Remember that one.
like single day. I'd been to,
Mhm.
I hadn't quite been to keep Austin Agile yet. I did Agile. I did Austin in 16 as well.
Yep.
There was one in 15 that was like a 1-day thing in Dallas that I was like, it was almost like you hear these stories of the San Diego comic book con, like Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, that would be great. And then you go to like the small little regional shit that comes to your town.
That's
and
fun.
I don't know if you're a comic book guy, but like,
I
like,
love comic books.
Oh, I'm like, this is a great event. And they're like, but have you been to San Diego?
Mm-hmm.
And the very first time I was like, oh, so this is an Agile conference. They're like, kinda, but have you been to Agile? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just figured out, and then I also figured out very quickly, like not a lot of companies had money for conference budgets or
Right.
not a ton of training. If they had training
Right.
budgets, it certainly wasn't enough to cover the conference.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, then how do I go? Oh, you have to be a speaker. I don't know how to do that, but I will definitely learn how to be a speaker.
Yep.
And so I had tried for probably 2-3 years before that to get in. And I finally got in 16, which was why that was the first time that I was there. So I don't know, there's something romantic about like your first couple that you go to because you remember meeting people for the first time.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking about because I've done the regional ones. Like I've been meaning to get to Cincy. I've been meaning to get to Indy, but like Texas, I've done the stuff in Austin, even the regular, a lot in the DC, just bouncing around between things.
Right.
And then if something's happening, but no, you're right. It was a hard sell depending on the company and the time where it's like, hey, I want to go to this thing. Wait a minute, you're not going to be here for how long? And you need a hotel.
What are
and
you?
How much is the ticket?
There?
It's not even that. Well, cutthroat DC coming at you. It's like, what kind of business are you going to win for me? No, I mean, it's like being in this position now. By the way, we're like almost to the day 7-year anniversary for the company on our side. So it's like having to write checks to send people across the whatever to not for nothing. Hey, I'm going to go into a room and hear about story points again. Okay. And it's like, oh, and then we're going to go to the conference party. Okay. What'd you remember? I remember Chris Lee and Trisha Broderick in karaoke. That's what I remember. It's like, okay, sweet. It's it's a hard sell.
I think my first karaoke was in San Diego. So yes,
we were San Diego. We did San Diego. Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
San Diego.
Everybody was on stage singing together. Like everybody would flood the stage.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to take. I remember distinctly, and I can't remember which, because Scrum Alliance, we've done events in San Diego, same with Agile Alliance. I can't remember which one it was, but I do remember distinctly getting a text and a call that said, "Please take their phone away from them." And I'm not going to say who and when, but
that's fine. Listen, what happens at the conference? It's like Vegas.
Oh. No, it's interesting because it's, like you said, it's fun and you remember these good memories. And, now that we're on these sides of things, I don't know about you, but it's like, I am always thinking about like, how can we make sure like those first times, like those first timers, I want them to have just the time of their lives. I want it to be valuable. I want it to be positive. I want them to meet people. I want them to learn things. And I mean, we both talked.
There's still a large percentage of attendees that are first timers every year. There's still a large number of them. So,
and I love it.
Yeah, to me, content is king, and so I am curious from your perspective. Like, so now that we know a little more about what happens under the hood, I don't know that I would call myself like an expert conference planner.
Mhm.
But like, what do you think I don't want to get into like, it was better back in the day, or this was good and this
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
good. We don't have to get into that, but
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what do you think? Are the conferences adapting and changing along with the landscape of our work? Do you feel like what do you feel is being refreshed and updated every year? Are we getting the updated ideas that really matter, or is it less about the content for you? I don't know. Just kind of general thoughts about what's kind of changed
What's kind
in
of
the
changed?
landscape.
A couple things, and from the attendee, also from the organizer standpoint. So attendee standpoint first. If it's your first one, you're probably going off of like, oh, I'm going to see some people, and you're probably looking at the program and you see people that you've noticed on like books, or you've seen videos, or you've seen them at a meetup, and it's like, oh, I've always wanted to meet so and so. And I tell a lot of people, I say, never meet your heroes, because unfortunately, and my friends right now who are, I can think of a few that would be like, don't say it, I'm not going to. But it's like you're not as cool as you think you are. Like, take it easy.
Yeah.
Like only a few of us sign autographs, so take it easy. And even then, not everybody wants them. So it's like, for the first time attendee being able to go and check out some things, I think that if they're looking to like connect with someone or learn about a topic, it's like that. I still think that we're doing, at least I know everyone works really hard on it. I think people are doing a really good job on that. I think that on the organizer side, I think, the world's different now. I mean, here we are hanging out doing this, and like 3 years ago, we maybe probably be on the phone just hanging out. And now, so thinking about from a safety standpoint and a travel standpoint and being conscious of that, I think that's a wrinkle that we have to think about, and letting people attend from other parts in the world. Because frankly, like, oh, are we going to have in person versus like a mix versus virtual only? It's like in person hits different, I think. And
Yeah.
having a camera in the back of the room is, well, it's cool to see, and it's a little bit of FOMO where you're like, I kind of wish I was there. And some events that I've worked with, they're like, oh, well, maybe we should have a hybrid contingent in this and time zone. It's like, it's never going to get the attention it should. And if it does, it's going to be a different experience than the people in the room. So it's like, I'm not a fan of, this is just me personally, this personal opinion. People are like, we're great at it. Hey, that's great. But it's kind of tough to pull that off to make sure that everyone has an even and positive experience. And, on the flip side, the virtual element, some
Right.
people have got the virtual stuff on lockdown, and it's a wonderful experience, but they've tuned it in for like that market and those challenges. So
Sure.
I think that people, overall, I think there's been a real good kind of stay with the times, at least from those standpoints. What do you think?
I feel like if people my personal thought is, if you give them the right reasons to show,
Yeah.
there will be enough people. Now, again, at the height of attendance, I mean, we're talking 3,000 people
Yep.
there, maybe at the
More.
height of attendance, and that was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And there's no throwing shade on anybody, saying like attendance is not as high as what it used to be.
No.
And so the question is like, okay, well, what is the most important thing? Is the most important thing to get the most attendees? Is it to create a diverse experience? Is it to create something that what I've learned in all of the conversations since then is that I can't plan a conference for everybody.
No.
I can say, hey, I can't make anybody submit a session on this topic.
Right.
We've tried to add some more curation to some stuff over the years to say, hey, nobody's submitting on this. I'd really like to see this. I did Agile Essentials last year, and I basically ran the track. I basically created a track that I wanted to attend, and I didn't attend my sessions because I wanted to. I mean, because I had to. I did it because like, no, this is great. I get to listen to Barcombe make fun of transformations and how silly some people have made them, but it's going to be still productive and tongue in cheek, and let's not take ourselves too seriously and all that.
Right.
Like this year, we've got the comic Agile, Agility, I forget how everybody pronounces it. Luke Sean has come in, like, to, again, like, not something that would have normally happened. Like, are we, by like, will you make content that people are like, no, it's cool? Because for me, the lowest one was the year where I spent most of the time in hallways because I was there working the conference. Also, my company was paying me to be there because I was at the Accenture at the time. But at the same time, like I wasn't drawn to sessions. And that was probably says something more about me than the content itself. But if it's me, I always say, if I'm feeling it, someone else has got to be feeling it, right? You're never the only one feeling something. So which is probably the main reason why to go to the conference, to be like, I felt this before. Am I the only one? You're going to hear a resounding, no, you're not the only one. And also, yes, and here's another story about this or this or this. And then we all chat, share stories and stuff. But there does need to be something that you can bring back other than like, man, I got to sing the sweetest karaoke song.
Yeah, it needs to be more than that. Right? There are years, I can't remember which year it was, but I went, and this is for Agile Alliance. Guess how many sessions I went to? 0. And it was super productive.
That can happen.
It was all small group, one-on-one hallway. And I came home with like 6 or 7 contracts. And it's like, okay, but I went with, okay, I'm going specifically because like, hey, I'm going to be here. We need to meet. Hey, I'm going to be here. We need to get together. Hey, we need to get the conversation going on this. And it's like, all right. And like, from like a content and different things, people like, why don't you go to more sessions, or why, this? It's like, I was like, I'm probably working with that speaker to help them on their sessions. Like, I know it's in there, a bunch of times because I try to help folks out. And, I could go and do that, but like for a conference like that one I'm thinking of, I can't remember the name, which year, but it's like I was going in with a very, very focused purpose of, I need to come home with this and this and this. And for at that point of the company, it's like, this is what I'm going for. Other times, it'd be like, hey, I'm just going to soak in as much, as much as I can. And I mean, guess we're lucky because we have so many contacts and friends we get to see. It's like, oh, it's catching up and, having a good time. And because you've been to it enough, it's a little different.
Yeah. You bring up a good point that I don't think people realize how much business actually happens at the conference.
Huge.
I don't know about like in Austin how much business happens versus being an entire week in wherever AA's got set up, but it's pretty interesting. All you have to have is, I'm there, I've got a microphone and I'm recording, or I'm there and I've got a place to just sit and chit chat. And really, honestly, you can attend one session a day or no sessions a day and feel completely productive.
Absolutely.
And you can also not want any of that. You could say, I don't care about the expo booths.
Yep.
Other than showing up when there's free food there. And I'm not here to buy.
You gonna eat that pudding?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Like, I'm not here to buy anything. I'm not here to sign a contract, anything. I'm just here to learn about the best way to help my organization.
Yep.
It's just, there's so much else that you can do.
Yes.
Right. That isn't when you're in a session.
Well, so much of it is, I think, kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier about like your first ones and you have good memories. It's almost being overwhelmed by the amount of options that you have. And so, by the way, folks, if you're still listening to us, thank you. Listen to 2 people with some pretty cool first names.
They have to.
I know. But being able to think about like, okay, like, how am I going to spend my day, or how am I going to do this? And being able to look at the program and be like, oh, there might be this, or, oh, I'm looking at this. And for any of you, if you come and you see any of us who spend any minute, let alone a lot of minutes, trying to put this on, just ask questions. Just feel free to ask questions to our listeners. If you see us, hey, I'm thinking about this, who should I go see? And oh, you should catch that one. I find myself doing that a lot, where it's like, all right, where should I go at 9 o'clock? Or where should I go at 1 o'clock? Be like, all right, like, hey, my buddy's going here. And you know what? She's amazing. You would love this talk. Yeah. Go see her. She's, and just try to like throw sunshine and like help that out. It's always awesome for that. But then like between one thing I think is great is that when folks will find each other and like, hey, we're going to post up in this area, or here's a dedicated area for some like technical open space that's going to just be like chilling there all week, or like, oh, here's where this group hangs out, and like to be able to float around and do that. And it's just, I think it's great.
Yeah.
You need multiple days to do that. You can't do that on one day. You got to have at least a few to figure out where you are.
Well, and yes, and for those that, so I was in Vegas at the
Paris?
the
No.
TechWell conference that they do
Oh,
there.
okay. Oh, okay. Got it.
I was at by the pool in Caesar's Palace with some of our besties there.
Uh-huh.
And I remember Barcombe basically taking me by the shoulders and sitting me down going, let me tell you how to start your own business. You've waited long enough. I understand where you're coming from. It's time to start talking about that. It's time to start. So like, if you're like, hey, listen, I don't do the contracting. I'm not an independent. I work for someone. I like my job. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. Great. Still come and find one of us and go, hey, how hard is it to start your business? What is it that you needed? What is it that you did? Because I have no branded hoodies on me. I'm not that baller of
Listen
yet,
to this
but
guy.
hey, listen, I was going to make the joke regardless.
No, it's fine. Get a bathroom. I should get a bathroom now.
But it's actually harder than a bathroom. Yes.
Yeah, you said robe.
It's actually not as if you just spend the time to like talk to people, you can figure it out. And also, like, there's many types of businesses that we run, right? Yep. Like, I don't do trainings, right? Like, there are some people that they want to employ multiple people.
Yep.
They're more of they're like a framework trainer, and they sell that.
Yep.
Some do a mix of training and
everything,
consulting,
all over.
Great consulting, like me. There's some people that are trying to build their own platform on the side. There's all different versions of that, and you're like, well, I don't really like training, but I do have this interesting idea for an app.
There you go.
I guarantee you they're all going to be there. Like,
everyone's going to be there.
Anybody that has any of those things, they're going to be there. So, and nobody gets any shade thrown at them for saying like, I like your tool, but I'd like to build a better one, because all of us are like, cool. The tools are meant to be used and then set aside until the next one comes along. So, whatever. Okay. So you brought up the, I don't know where to go, or who do I go see or whatnot, right? Like, this is a perfect intro to Agile Advice, right? So I guess, tell me your opinion of like the history of it, because earlier, it was referred to as like Coach's Corner, right? Come here for coaching. And then there was the decision that like, well, maybe you don't need coaching. Maybe you need to talk about something, or maybe you just need like, tell me about this person or whatever. And so it was kind of rebranded as advice, just to say like, hey, you need someone to talk to. You heard something cool in a session and you don't feel like going to the next session and chatting with someone about it. Hey, we've got Agile Advice, kind of a thing. So I guess tell me your take on it and why you like, because I know you in particular have an affinity for Agile Advice. So tell me your take on, maybe not, but
well, I can give you the whole history, because I was asked to start it.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you know. Do you know the whole history with it?
I don't know. I probably
can go, and then I can fill it in. This will be good. I can tell you and then other listeners as well. So in a lot of different conferences, different organizations would offer some things out. And for those of you who are listening, if you hadn't seen my name before, I do quite a bit of work with Scrum Alliance as well. Right. The Global Scrum Gathering, there was always Coach's Corner / Coach's Clinic. You will see places do that. Sometimes it is a sponsored thing by Scrum Alliance, where it's like, oh, I can talk to some coaches. And so for those of you who are going to the Global Scrum Gathering in Portland, I know we're trying to keep it around that. I'll be out there as well. I'm on the program team for that too. This was hey, spot coaching type thing. Well, this is 2016. I got approached, and Agile Alliance asked me, and they said, hey, would you consider doing something like this? And I said, okay, people that I know already do something kind of like that. And they're like, well, we want to do something a little different. So it wasn't even as much, let's take it and rebrand it. This was a brand new effort. They're like, we want to do something completely different. And at the time, it actually had a different name. They actually named it something. There's another name in there. They called it Agile Therapy.
Oh,
funny you mentioned that. I didn't pick the name. They said, we want you to do this. And I said, okay. And the end of that arc is people were not happy with the name because somebody doesn't like iced coffee. I'm getting the email. It's just kind of how things are sometimes.
Right.
But it was like, oh, there's this and this and this. And it's like, fine. We hear you here. So it was rebranded after the first time it was out, and it has since become Agile Advice. People make this association that, oh, that's the coach's clinic. That's the coach's corner. I got to make this 100% clear for our listeners. This is a completely different effort. And if someone's like, oh, I used to run this, you actually haven't, because I have been in charge of this since its inception. So if you're asking about Agile Advice, me and my team have been putting this on since it's been created. Yeah. So the original ask was, can we put aside some space where we could ask people to volunteer their time? And just like you said, it's like, hey, I went to a session and I want to kind of bounce some ideas. And when it comes to coaching, and it's funny you mentioned that earlier, like with Audacious and everything, this idea of coaching and agile coaching and professional coaching, it's a bigger topic than this call right here. But sometimes like, look, I just need an ear, or I want to ask somebody, hey, can I get some advice? Right. And if you're coming from the places that I've been schooled in, it's like coaches shouldn't give advice. You create the space, et cetera, all that great stuff from a professional coaching standpoint. And it's like, look, we don't have enough time to form that human bond. I just need to, hey, X, Y, or Z, what should I think of? It's like, hey, you got to be careful about this, talk about this. All right, cool. There wasn't an opportunity to do that like in any kind of structured format. So it was like, sure. Imagine if you could stop by, say, hey, I'd love to talk to somebody about this. Technology, people, doesn't matter. Could I get someone's time? And so we're like, wow, if we could get volunteers, advisors to come in and offer up an hour or two or more of their time to be available, they could talk to people, one after another. And it's a great way for advisors to get involved in the event, spend some time, and it's a volunteer effort. People volunteer their time. And we are going to be having the form. The veterans that are out there like, Chris, where's the form? That's going to be coming here in a little bit. We're making we're streamlining a little bit of it. But people say, I would like to come, and on like Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm available from this time. And they say, I'd love to give some thoughts on technical leadership, or, this one particular people problem, or, oh, you're thinking about anything. And so we, on our side, the Agile Advice team, all these wonderful advisors who volunteer their time, we kind of create a nice spread all throughout the event where it's like, if you show up and you want to talk about this, then we probably have someone you can talk to. And so it lets people who want to volunteer their time and talk with others, they can get involved. For attendees who are like, hey, I have this problem, I literally just need someone for a little bit of space to talk to them.
Sure.
And then they can do that, and they get to meet somebody. We've had people come up and be like, I would love to talk to somebody about this. And it's like, wow, well, the person who wrote the most important book on that topic is available right now. Would you like to talk to them? They're like, yes. It's like, here you go. And then you see those human connections go. And so it's been, and I'll throw it back in just a second. I just want to add this one little point. It's been wonderful to see it grow and evolve over the years, where the amount of advisors, we don't say coaches, the amount of advisors that want to get involved and volunteer, that's grown. More attendees who come to the conference, they say, we want to get involved. I'd love to talk to people. My team has grown year after year for people to go ahead and manage all that. Like, we come out of the booth at times if we need to. But to be able to stop by, and talk with folks for the majority of the conference, it's something that I think it's pretty cool just to see, have that type of an offering for attendees and advisors as well. I just think it's really fun.
Yeah. Yes. And I will state publicly that it's not been the one conversation we on the program team have talked about this year is like, you've not done the best job of internal messaging. We do some before the event. We do a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't do enough when you get there. Hey, remember all this cool shit we have?
Yep.
Do you remember it? Like, if you think that you're going to go to a 75-minute session on pick a topic,
anything,
pick any topic, and you're so will you get good information? Yes.
Yeah.
Will you get some great stories? Yes.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a step-by-step way of how to do it. All of that within 75 minutes, and then land the plane and also get Q&A kind of at the, like, it's, some people have so much content they can't even do a Q&A. They're like, find me in the hallway afterwards. I never do that because there's only, so like, if you need, you just go, hey, someone just talked to me about this. How do I do that? Like, they were like this and this, and I just don't know how to connect the dots.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's okay that you don't know how to connect the dots,
totally
right?
Fine.
Some people, you might spend thousands of dollars with a consultancy to get an answer on how to do that. And you can just walk down the down the hallway and
for
go,
free.
hey, Lee, can
Yeah.
you find someone smart? I got idea. I got questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. The fact that, and it's there for attendees.
Mhm.
And it's like, I think it's because we always get the, what's this? What's this? And then it just, and then it's just like,
Mhm.
and it's just fun. We've gotten into a space right now. And just like you said, it's like someone will come out of a session. Hey, I saw a session on this. I'd love to talk further about it. And imagine if that presenter is in the roster, because that's happened. You know, it's not a guarantee, but it's like, maybe they did. How cool is that? Or, I mean, frankly, off to the side, someone's like, do you know? And then I'll just grab the cell phone. Like, hey, you got 15 minutes. Come over. And then they come, hey, can you cash in a favor?
Well, and you know, it depends on the year. Like
Mhm.
somehow we managed to sweet talk Jeff Patton into coming hanging out with us. Like, you ain't gonna see him that often, folks.
Nope.
His
Nope.
time's hard. His time is precious and hard to
Yep.
find. He's nice as hell though, so be nice to him. And you know,
Listen,
yeah.
And you get a chance to talk to Jeff Patton, do most of the listening. That's what I would say.
Yes,
that is someone that's someone we all look up to. You should listen. Just listen.
Yeah, but there's a million. I still remember. I remember in Atlanta. I remember there being. It was in between sessions. Everybody's kind of in this large area, kind of looking around where they're going to go next and stuff. And I'm standing there, and I go, "Okay, you're going to go say hi to Esther Derby without sounding like a fanboy," because I'd only interacted with her via Twitter at that point. And I walk up to her and I say, hey, I'm really sorry to bug you. I'm trying to not be a weirdo about this. I just wanted to introduce myself. And she goes, you look different from your picture on Twitter, Chris. Looked me right in the eyes, didn't look at my name tag, looked me right in the eyes and said, you look different than your Twitter picture, Chris. And I went, oh, okay. And then how am I not supposed to freak out right now?
No,
right. No. The week is filled with that, like, Lee's room is going to have people filled with just that, or they're like, hey, come back at 2:00. I got a text out to them. I bet you I can get them here around then. Come back after then.
Yep.
Or whatever. Right.
Yep.
Like, we know where everybody is.
Everybody knows where everybody is.
Yeah.
Hey, you got 15? Sure. I got 15.
Yeah.
I mean, I will, as busy, and this, by the way, this for our listeners out there, for all the people that put so much work and so much energy and so much time into putting on this event, I can hardly at all, of all the people, Chris, that we know, I cannot imagine someone not being able to take a couple moments just to connect and talk and maybe show you the right way. So please do not think that you can't go up to say hi or introduce yourself to somebody and say hello. I mean, obviously pick your spot. I mean, if someone's off fighting with their spouse, maybe don't interrupt them. You know, it's just like, yeah, I'm sorry. I know that everybody here's in tears and all, but I just wanted to let you know, read the room a little bit. But everybody would be able to, no, we're all just humans. Everyone's human. Just go say hi.
I do know that, again, when you have an industry that's founded off of like self-awareness, and if you can't help anybody if you haven't helped yourself first, kind of a thing. Like, trust me, if they didn't want to talk to people, they wouldn't come that year. Like, some people just aren't feeling it, or they've had a heavy work schedule, or they've got some family stuff going.
Something's going on. Yeah, they wouldn't be there.
Right. If they're there, they got time for you.
Yeah. They just about. And again, back to Agile Advice, it's like the fact that people will be like, I would love to do 3 sessions in a row. It's like, are you sure? It's like, yeah. I was like, look, are you sure? It's like, come on, man. Like, I got you. It's like, okay. And they will stay and just graciously talk to person after person after person. And it's great to see. Just, we're going to make some space for you to get 15 minutes of someone's time that you've only read their book. Right. Just to get their perspective on something that's pertinent to what you heard or what you read. It's a pretty cool offering. And so folks, please, not, I mean, I know part of it's tough, but I got to plug it a little bit. Find us. Like I have to talk to Yvonne. She owes me the exact spot on the floor plan, but I'm very small and easy to miss. That's being sarcastic. Please find me. If you see me or anybody else who might know me,
Chris,
just find us. Yeah, so it's I stick out.
Find someone that that could catch you in 40 yards pretty quickly, it's Chris Lee.
And we would love to see you. Like, come on by, say hello, and it's a chance to connect. And people can come back multiple times. We just, people will put up a session. And here's a funny story, actually. You want to know something we learned? We put up the board, and it's pretty lo-fi, sure. stickies and markers and whiteboards. Imagine that, and someone once signed up for like 8 sessions, and it's like, you're like, okay, cool, people are interested, but like, because it's a limited capacity, it's like, no, you can't say you want to take 8 trips to the buffet. So one thing we learned, it's like, you can put your name up there once, have a talk, and then if you would like to sign up again later, then we can talk about doing it then, because we want to make it that as many people as possible, distinct people, can come back, because people would no show. And it's like, if I cashed in a favor to get the author of a book to change their time to 1 o'clock because you put in a card that you said this, and I was like, I know that this is a good thing, and it's a little smoother than that, but sometimes I do that, and then you're no show, you're not helping me out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so that's why it's like one, it's
it happens. It happens.
Things you could get a contract and not be able to jump on when you're supposed to record, and then you can have the same thing happen earlier in the week.
Oh my God. I love a good callback. I will say this, like, it is not because I respect the hell out of you. It's not because like you're really good at what you do, but I firmly believe the 2 things that I was super passionate about this year was creating an actual real open space. Like see Jake's hand going up my back, making my mouth
I was gonna say,
right, like, oh yeah, Mr. I have a X step plan to like getting open space the way that, like,
I got this.
He had me eating out of his hand earlier this year when we were we were talking about
Jake, if you're listening, love you, buddy.
Yeah, yes, and you owe me a string cheese. And but that and advice are something that we don't do enough, like plugging of a free resource. Yes, you're paying for a conference, you are paying for
here's a benefit.
Paying for a hotel room, you had to get on a flight to get there.
Yep.
Yes, I get it. All that is money, and money that not everybody has laying around. Trust me.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
The fact that I work for Agile Alliance to help put these on so that I don't have to do that. Trust me, I get that. That said, you would pay far more to get some of the answers that you can get from, a consultancy and some biz dev guy that's going to be calling or person be calling you, kind of a thing. Like, you just the content and free transformation advice or free make this stuff work at my office. You're not going to get that just sitting down the hallway.
No. And the fact that the person that you might that might volunteer their time in another engagement would charge you for that. And they're volunteering it. I mean, it's like a lot of this. I love what I do. It's wonderful. Time is money. And it's like, just like this morning, we're trying to get some engagements done and all, but it's like, hey, we're volunteering. And it's like, to get access to folks that are on this roster, it's a wonderful benefit. It's an offering that, like, I'm just glad to bring it in. Like, when we do it, I mean, I always basically around Thanksgiving, I always send up the flyer. We do it again. I always wait for that. I'm like, we do it again. Cause the beauty for the board, thanks to the board, to the program team every year, those new people, but thank you again for everything everyone does. I want to make it as smooth for them. Like, do you want me to do it? Okay, I got it. Here we go. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity, because it's pretty, it's nice and smooth. And it's like, here's something. It's just a space, some tables, some stuff, and some wonderful people who get it. And it's a fun way to be involved in the conference. So if you were thinking about, even if you swing by to say hello, folks, please at least come by and say hi to the team.
That's right.
Say hi.
That's right. And if you don't know what to ask Chris about, you can ask him about this. Last question. Where in the world did you develop this like buttery smooth radio voice with a non-regional regional accent diction? Like, I don't know where you're from. I don't know what you're doing, but you've got this timbre to your voice. There's no drawl to your, like, there's no y'all that comes out of your mouth like me. Like, I'm not saying you have a face for radio, but you definitely have a voice for radio.
I appreciate that. No, it's funny because so I'm on the East Coast, in right outside of the Washington, D.C. area. My father is actually from New York. He's from Queens. My
Okay.
mother is from the North Shore area of Boston. So if you got any Massachusetts, like Danvers, Beverly, that area.
Okay.
When I'm around my friends from the different parts of the US, it's hard for me not to slip into it every once in a while. It's because, you hang out. I say y'all
Sure.
quite a bit. True story. When we were in London on vacation years ago, I sat down and and I'm from Virginia. And one of my favorite things to eat, I love grits, like cheese grits. And I
Sure.
sat down and I looked at the waitress and I said, "Excuse me, y'all got grits?" And I said it like I said, "Y'all got grits." And my wife looked at me. She said, "You just said y'all got grits in downtown." And the waitress looked at me and said, "Oh, you're from America." It's like, yeah, you got, but it's
Never been prouder.
no, hey, that's what I eat. But it's like I got friends all over the world that I hang out with. I'm used to having to talk to people from all over. And
Sure.
so because of that, easy, this is just what I'm used to. So I appreciate the comments on it. I have friends. My wife would not exactly agree all the time because we had some folks we were working with once. It was like, I could listen to Chris read a phone book. And Christine chimes in. She's like, "I've done it. It's not so good." Everyone starts laughing. She's like, "I have to listen to it all the time. It's not that good."
They've seen us at our most embarrassing moment. That's not
Absolutely.
That's not fair.
Absolutely.
My first job out of college was the weekend sports anchor for an NBC affiliate, and
I would have loved that. Oh, Bungo's a Dynamite style.
So I had to shove every bit of drawl down my gullet as best I could. But again, I don't always. It's like a dial. I can turn it up and down sometimes, but there are words that comes out of my mouth, and my wife will stop, who grew up in St. Louis, will stop and turn and look at me and go, "Did you just hear what came out of your mouth?" And then she starts, and then her and our oldest son start mocking me, and I'm like, "Y'all know that I have feelings, right? Like this is not."
Yeah, this hurts. These are verbal knives that you are throwing into my chest right now.
The visage of hurt is right in front of you, and like, God bless. Yeah.
Well, it's fun, man. No, that is the tough part about all this. Like back to what we were saying before about like in person, virtual, and all like that. It's one thing when you're like listening. Because are we going to do video for this one? I didn't know if we were. Or are you just going to do audio for this?
We might have some clips, but for the most part,
it's fine. But it's like most of the time you only get this, and it's like when there's a mic, you can do fun things anytime. Like I actually normally when I'm in a room, I don't work with a mic. It's like because I can but it's like I can go out over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people normally pretty well in a easy to listen way. But it's like when I have a mic, I can do a lot more tricks. So it's it's always fun, and just being able to do, like we're just talking, like here in a studio, it's a little different. So I feel like you can see someone, it's like, oh, okay, and it's like, oh, okay, there's that. So it's no, I never did any comm, I never did anything, but I've always been in front of crowds for a lot of my life. So kind of used to the public speak and talk and sing and play and video games and all the church
musicals growing up that I had to do. I've never met a stranger because I was shoved in front of strangers as a kid and told,
there you go
act funny.
Go make a laugh.
Chris Lee, where can people find you if they want to find you?
If people want to find me, I'm pretty active out on those social medias, all that stuff. So good place to look at LinkedIn. So if you look at Chris Lee and the last name's 2 letters, L-I, very easy one to find. You'll see a bald person sitting there with their arms folded, kind of like this. Very easy to find. You can find me there. I'm also on Twitter. The handle is Real Chris Lee, again, L-I. Easy to find there. Twitter and LinkedIn are great. But also, if you want to see a little bit about what we're doing, you can take a look at our company's website. That's sparkplugagility.com. The bathrobe, aka hoodie, I'm wearing right now that Chris and I were joking about earlier. You can see some of the stuff we do. It's real fun to engage with the community across so many different things we were talking about before. Consulting, coaching, speaking, MC, do a lot of that stuff. People call for training as well. One of the things that we're the most excited about here in 23, a lot of my energy goes into helping to grow and develop aspiring and practicing instructors. So people who want to build workshops, build their own classes, submit to conferences like we're talking about here, working with folks who want to do that and want to get better in it. That's what's getting me out of bed for the last couple of years. So stuff like that. We have some programs out there. It's called the Trainer Immersion Program. It's our crown jewel. We rolled out 3 cohorts of it here in 23. So if you like to build stuff or you want to get better at it, please feel free to look us up. We're really excited for the June cohort, and we got some coming up this fall as well. So if that's kind of what you'd like to do, folks, I'd love to see you. I'd love to see you in the classroom.
There are people that we both know that, well, I think me included, that could use that. So I may need to sock away some money for you,
but we can figure out something. So it's our best work.
Everybody, I really respect Chris, and I'm thankful for his time. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you, buddy.
The Chris Squared podcast will end now, and we'll see you all in Orlando this year, gang.
Thanks for listening, folks.